The story begins in the year 4386. Everywhere in Huaxu, people practiced cultivation and used cultivation technology to make their lives easier. Everything was peaceful until a giant frog attacked the city. A magic squad was sent to subdue the monster, and on the battlefield, a little boy could be seen eating a snack. The boy was so absorbed in his snack that he was completely unaware of the danger surrounding him. He was about to be hit by the giant frog when one of the members of the magic squad, Zhuo Yi, carried him to safety. Years later, Zhuo Yi is now celebrated as the hero who saved the city by defeating the giant frog all by himself. It is the first day of the new school year for Faction 60. A first-year student with black hair and red eyes enters the school when he is approached by two upperclassmen. They identify him as the student with a spiritual power level of 5. The two promise to take good care of him. The indifferent new student thanks them, but they start harassing him for protection money. Suddenly, a golden beam shoots down toward the ground in front of the seniors, sending both of them flying. From the rooftop, a smiling girl scolds the boys for bullying someone weaker than them, while the stunned students identify her as the legendary girl from the Huaguo Water Curtain Association, Sun Rong. A student tells her to come down, and Sun Rong gracefully lands in front of the new student. The girl smiles and playfully promises to protect him. In response, the boy gives her money as thanks before walking away. Sun Rong and the other students watching are completely stunned by the boy's apathetic behavior. Since it is the first day of school, the first-year students must take a test to determine which class they will be placed in. Students with excellent results will enter the elite class. For their test, they must face the incarnation of the giant frog's spiritual strength and hit its head with all their power. In reality, the giant frog is sealed inside the school, unknown to everyone. But the frog takes advantage of the opportunity and absorbs fragments of the student's spiritual strength every time it is struck. It only needs a little more strength to break the seal. Among the many students who try to hit the frog, the most impressive is the proud and graceful Sun Rong, who reaches a strength value of 2019. This triggers cries of admiration. She is blessed with beauty, money, and power. Then it is the turn of the new student, whose name is Wang Ling. As expected, the students around him look down on him after Sun Rong's impressive performance, but the frog has a very different reaction. Wait. Why do I hear boss music? The frog asks as Wang Ling approaches. The boss music is so epic that it takes the frog back to the time when it brought destruction to Huaxu. It turns out that Zhuo Yi was not actually that powerful. In fact, he was defeated by the monster. But just before the frog could finish him off, the little boy himself destroyed it while his own background music played. That child was none other than Wang Ling, and he hates being disturbed while eating crispy noodles. Recognizing the boss music, the frog starts to panic, fully aware that if Wang Ling hits it, both its soul and spirit will be annihilated. Meanwhile, Wang Ling thinks about suppressing his spiritual strength as much as possible and pretending to give it his all. Wang Ling runs weakly toward the frog. But before he can even hit it, something strange happens. The screen broadcasting his performance turns to static, and when the broadcast returns, the giant frog is lying on its back. Everyone is stunned, and the strength calculator overloads, displaying a series of 9s for his score. But they are not the only ones shocked by this turn of events. Wang Ling himself finds it strange because he did not even touch the frog. The exam administrator rushes into the room, upset by what happened to the frog. As he mourns its apparent death, Wang Ling quickly evaluates the situation and deduces that the frog is pretending to be dead. Its remaining spiritual strength has turned into a spirit body and escaped. Afterward, the exam administrator stands up and assigns Wang Ling to the elite class. It is now the elite class's first summoning lesson. Their teacher explains that the strength of the spirit body they summon is proportional to their power level. The class summons all kinds of things, from magical girl wands to anime figurines. Sun Rong, who is on another level compared to the others, summons the soul of a stray dog. When the other students praise their goddess for summoning a demonic beast, Sun Rong smiles and replies that she cannot summon something that strong. But inside, she is furious, wondering how much power is needed to summon those demonic forces. As for Wang Ling, he has not summoned anything yet because he is suspicious of what he might call forth. But his teacher insists that he do it. Using a drop of his sweat, Wang Ling ends up summoning the giant frog, which complains about having to face the powerful boy again. In a panic, some students run out of the classroom. Fortunately, their teacher saves the situation by using the dog Sun Rong summoned. She merges the giant frog and the dog with a talisman, creating a cute dog-type spirit beast. The students become excited and call it Erha, while Wang Ling leaves the classroom. During his birth, Wang Ling came out of his mother's belly all by himself. He even started walking as soon as he was born, which frightened his father so much that he lost consciousness. You cannot really blame him. Wang Ling has very caring parents who spoiled him with toys when he was a baby. Because of his great powers, he can also hear people's thoughts, so from a very young age, he already knew that people tend not to say what they truly think. Since then, Wang Ling has always kept a low profile, but Wang Ling broke this vow of normality when he defeated the frog at the tender age of 6. His parents witnessed it, and at that moment, they decided it would be better for him to work even harder to stay discreet. His father searched the internet for ways to contain spiritual power, and Wang Ling managed to suppress his overwhelming amount of spiritual energy before entering elementary school. His father also worked on an amulet to permanently reduce his spiritual power. On his 7th birthday, Wang Ling nearly set their house on fire by blowing too hard on the candles. On another occasion, his powers sent his friends flying far away from him. For some reason, their clothes were even removed. As impressive as her son was, his mother insisted that she simply wanted him to live a normal life. Likewise, Wang Ling is no stranger to the hard work his parents have put in over the last decade. He knows very well that they sacrificed a lot to make sure he could live an ordinary life and be a normal boy. So, for the past 10 years, he has been taking special pills that reduce his spiritual strength. He has also resolved never to use too much of his power until the new, more effective amulet is completed. At school, Sun Rong and their hot-blooded classmate Chen run for class president. Wang Ling wants nothing to do with it, because being president goes against his usual desire to stay discreet. While walking around the school, he notices that dry noodles are on sale, so he makes his way through the crowd of students, hoping to grab a pack. At that moment, a suspicious-looking man pays for everything being sold in the store and tells the crowd that everything in the shop is free for newcomers as long as they vote for Sun Rong. Chen Chao and his friend notice this and declare that buying votes is cheating, but Sun Rong arrives and says she is only demonstrating her abilities. As for Wang Ling, he only cares about the dry noodles, so he says he will give Sun Rong 5 votes for 5 packs of dry noodles. Sun Rong then uses the art of seduction to charm the students and make them vote for her. Even her rival, Chen Chao, falls under her spell. In class, they discuss the ancient arts of confinement, which include the seduction spell Sun Rong used on the students. Sun Rong panics and fears that the teacher has seen through her scheme. The teacher explains that seduction uses incantations with hand seals to project the user's spiritual power onto others, turning them into fans of the user. For the spell to work, there must be a gift involved. As the teacher discusses this, Wang Ling realizes what Sun Rong did earlier. He remembers that he gave her a pill in exchange for the dry noodles, so he can no longer be under her spell. He gestures to her that the dry noodles are delicious, but Sun Rong misunderstands and thinks he wants her to take the pill he gave her. She does so, thinking he wants to help her become class representative. At the same time, the teacher explains that a lack of spiritual power will stop the seduction before it can take effect, and since the pill reduces spiritual power, Sun Rong's spell over the students quickly breaks. The teacher then asks Sun Rong to demonstrate the spell he was talking about. But Sun Rong is weakened because of the pill, so she ends up tripping over a can. This leaves Wang Ling responsible for demonstrating the spell in her place. After that, the class election takes place, and Chen Chao wins. It looks like Sun Rong has learned her lesson. The next day, the first-year students have their pill refining class. Each student must bring their own furnace to school. Chen Chao, meanwhile, brings a large copper cauldron. He says his great-grandfather used the cauldron to refine level 9 golden pills, so he is probably aiming for the same results. As always, Sun Rong makes a remarkable entrance at school, but she is not quite herself. The first thing she does is approach Wang Ling, who immediately notices the seduction symbol above her head. Realizing that she was affected by his seduction spell from the day before, he quickly breaks the symbol, freeing Sun Rong from the spell. In class, the students are asked to make vitality pills. Their teacher quickly gives a demonstration, then encourages the students to make the pills themselves. Sun Rong has brought a refining machine from her family's factory, while Wang Ling uses a microwave oven. In the middle of class, Chen Chao's cauldron explodes. He runs out of the room crying, saying that his father will surely whip him. It will take about 7 hours for the pills to be refined, so the teacher has the students leave the room first and come back later. But unknown to the class, a sinister villain is lurking in the shadows, and that villain is Erha. Now that he has been left alone in the room, the dog plans to eat one of the students' magic furnaces. Fortunately, Wang Ling arrives just in time before Erha can swallow it, and he swings him out of the room. Still upset about the damage to his cauldron, Chen Chao remembers how he begged his father to let him bring the family cauldron to school. Meanwhile, Wang Ling washes Guo Hao's furnace, which he saved from the evil dog. Guo Hao sees him holding it and demands an explanation. Wang Ling explains that Erha put Guo Hao's furnace in his mouth, so he took it out to wash it. Meanwhile, a mental demon has already taken possession of Chen Chao's mind. As for Guo Hao, he tries to shoot Wang Ling with his pentatoxic potion for touching his cauldron. Unfortunately, Chen Chao is the one who gets hit and absorbs part of the potion. Wang Ling tries to heal Chen Chao with his powers, but Guo Hao stops him and encourages him to help make an antidote instead. Although Wang Ling thinks the potion's effects are not that serious, he eventually gives in to Guo Hao, who is being very dramatic. While they are making the potion, Erha approaches the furnace to try to eat it again, but Guo Hao quickly foils his efforts. This leads them to discover that Erha can speed up the heating process. Wang Ling is surprised to learn this, so the arrogant Erha claims that his trick is manipulating timelines, and so, the two ill-intentioned boys decide to exploit poor Erha to speed things up. In addition to being used for his powers, Erha is also used as a test subject by Guo Hao. Maybe he should have simply let Wang Ling annihilate him. After all, shortly afterward, their teacher and other classmates head toward the room. Guo Hao tries to delay them, but fails. Fortunately, Wang Ling is fast enough to hide Chen Chao by making him invisible. The teacher inspects Guo Hao's furnace and finds a golden pill inside, earning him a fairly high grade. Surprised, Guo Hao is almost ready to cry because he assumes Wang Ling put the pill he made into his furnace. As for Wang Ling, his furnace produced a burnt pill, which earns him a scolding from the teacher. This makes Guo Hao even more emotional because he thinks Wang Ling took the blame for him so that he could get a better grade. From then on, Guo Hao considers him his friend for life. But in reality, Wang Ling did not do anything at all. His microwave produced a mediocre pill, and the golden pill Guo Hao made was in his own furnace while he was making the antidote. Eventually, Chen Chao finally regains consciousness, and Guo Hao tells him that he found him passed out on the floor from exhaustion, directing his attention to the repaired cauldron behind him, which makes Chen Chao cry with gratitude. Turning to Wang Ling, the tearful boy gives him a passionate hug. But what Chen Chao does not know is that his repaired cauldron is entirely thanks to Erha, who remains completely unthanked in all of this. At the end of another school day, the students begin getting ready to go home. However, Sun Rong approaches Wang Ling and asks him if he has any plans for the next day. Their classmates are stunned by the question. After all, could the prodigy really be interested in this weak and unpopular boy? Wang Ling does not answer at first. Meanwhile, two strange individuals wearing rabbit masks watch them from a distance. One of them is holding a sniper rifle. These two men are following the orders of a mysterious person who gives them permission to shoot Sun Rong. But after receiving the order, the shooter is unable to act, paralyzed by the intense pressure coming from Wang Ling's gaze alone. At that moment, the principal calls Wang Ling to his office. As he leaves, Wang Ling walks away without even realizing that he had been in the shooter's line of fire. Frustrated, the criminals are ordered to leave, since their target is now out of sight. However, they do not realize that they are being watched by the green dog. Meanwhile, Wang Ling heads toward the principal's office, and the whole school is buzzing with rumors. The prodigy supposedly has a date with the most insignificant boy in the school. When he enters the office, Wang Ling meets Zhuo Yi, the great hero who saved the city from the giant toad years ago. Zhuo Yi asks the principal to give him a moment alone with Wang Ling. Once they are alone, the warrior admits to the boy that he remembers the day of the battle in the city, and that he knows it was Wang Ling who defeated the monster. Happy to have finally found that child after all these years, Zhuo Yi kneels before him, begging Wang Ling to become his master and teach him how to become more powerful. Wang Ling, uncomfortable with the situation, uses a 100% forgetting spell. This spell makes the target completely lose the memory of a specific event. However, if it is used incorrectly, it can leave the person in a vegetative state. Wang Ling uses it with only 50% of his power to avoid damaging Zhuo Yi's body. After a great blue light bursts from the office, Wang Ling leaves as if nothing happened. As he walks away to eat a snack, the green dog approaches him, and through it, Wang Ling discovers that the masked individuals really were criminals. The next day, Wang Ling wakes up, and when he opens his bedroom window, he notices a crowd of bodyguards and other people gathered outside, waiting for him to come out. During breakfast, his parents are delighted because Sun Rong is not only beautiful, but also belongs to a wealthy family. She even gives them a gift, a box of rare pills used only by high society families. Wang Ling and Sun Rong go out together into the city, but they are still being watched by the mysterious individuals wearing rabbit masks. They are planning something against Sun Rong. The place chosen by the young girl is called Dreamland, a real estate project owned by her family. However, the two masked individuals are already following them and have taken down several security guards along the way. Wang Ling and Sun Rong approach a statue, where an employee begins explaining the monument. He says the statue was built using spiritual power, and that if someone places their hand inside the statue's mouth, it can predict that person's future. Curious, Sun Rong takes Wang Ling's hand to test the power. At that exact moment, one of the criminals fires a silenced pistol in their direction. With incredible reflexes, Wang Ling catches the bullet with his teeth. He then decides to counterattack by using his spiritual power, launching the criminal far away with a powerful impact. Sun Rong, stunned, asks him how he managed to do something like that. To stop her from remembering the event, Wang Ling releases a blue light from his finger, erasing Sun Rong's memory as well as the employees. With no memory of what happened, Sun Rong continues her visit with Wang Ling, unaware that they are still being followed by the two criminals. Wang Ling uses clever methods to get rid of the pursuers at every attraction they visit, whether it is the roller coaster or the claw machines. Each time, he erases Sun Rong's memory so she does not realize they are being chased. At the end of the day, the two decide to finish their incredible outing with a ride on the Ferris wheel. But as they get on, the criminals follow them again, taking the cabin right behind them. At the top of the Ferris wheel, while fireworks light up the sky, the criminals jump into their cabin and point their weapons at them. They introduce themselves as members of a secret organization. However, their leader, who is listening from a distance, immediately scolds them for revealing their intentions. At the base of the Ferris wheel, Zhuo Yi, the great hero, observes the scene. He and his companions quickly arrive on their flying swords, ready to put an end to the threat. Sun Rong stands in front of Wang Ling to protect him, but the young boy, observing the situation, slowly gets up and, with a wave of his hand, sends one of the criminals flying with his power. The second criminal, terrified by Wang Ling's immense energy, is also blasted away. However, he is intercepted by a firebird summoned by Sun Rong, which strikes him directly. The impact triggers a magnificent firework in the sky, illuminating the scene. Seeing this incredible view, Wang Ling decides not to erase Sun Rong's memory this time, promising her that this moment will remain their shared secret. The next day, we see a kind of robotic fly spying on the students at school, especially Wang Ling, who is arriving for a new day of class. This surveillance device is being used by the same people who were chasing them the day before. Shortly after, Guo Hao approaches Wang Ling to learn more about what happened during their outing. Sun Rong also arrives, accompanied by many bodyguards. The school principal explains that these guards are necessary because the criminals are still at large. Sun Rong is surprised because she does not remember being chased. Taking advantage of the situation, Wang Ling announces in front of everyone that he neutralized the masked ninjas. In a flashback, we see Wang Ling and Sun Rong getting off the Ferris wheel, welcomed by warriors and a few guards. Sun Rong quickly leaves, while Wang Ling speaks with Zhuo Yi, the hero, who tells him he was impressed by his incredible power. However, Wang Ling uses his power to erase Zhuo Yi's memory, altering his memories so that Zhuo Yi believes he was the one who defeated the criminals. Zhuo Yi adds that the leader of the ninja organization is furious about the situation. In response, he strengthens security around Sun Rong, placing more police officers and guards around her. He also takes her to a special room protected by sealing magic, preventing anyone from entering without permission. This room is so secure that even the spy fly cannot enter without being destroyed. In addition, a special team called 7 Stars is deployed, including shooters ready to counter any aerial attack. When the bell rings, classes begin, and Sun Rong and her friends remain in the protected room. However, a member of the criminal organization manages to infiltrate the school through the underground passages and reaches the courtyard with great ease. His name is Xu Feng, the third elder of Team Hammer. With his magical hammer shaped like a chicken thigh, he knocks out several guards in seconds, forming a pile of bodies. To finish in style, like an Assassin's Creed player, he jumps into a haystack and neutralizes the last guard. However, he notices that he has already been spotted by a surveillance camera, which he immediately destroys. Zhuo Yi, having seen everything, quickly takes action to alert the guards, but a group of students does not seem concerned and calmly continues exchanging messages on their phones. Wang Ling, meanwhile, is playing a game and receives a message saying that he will soon be rewarded with a huge pack of crispy noodles delivered by drone. Meanwhile, the school guards, now on alert, are caught by surprise when a green mist fills the hallways. In the distance, a ninja appears, Xu Ying, the second member of Team Hammer, a poison specialist armed with a terrible club. He casts a meteor hammer spell, causing a massive explosion that sends the guards flying through the windows. He continues advancing down the hallway but is surprised by Wang Zukang, the school instructor. The teacher fires a cross-shaped projectile at high speed, but Xu Ying manages to dodge it. The projectile hits the wall, causing major damage. However, these two criminals are only a distraction, because a third member is also part of the infiltration. This is Xu Jian, the leader of Team Hammer. Thanks to his invisibility power, even the most experienced warriors cannot detect his presence. Patiently, he concentrates his energy to deliver a powerful strike with his gigantic hammer against the seal protecting the principal's room. Meanwhile, Wang Ling and his friends notice that the fight between the instructor and the poison ninja has already begun. Although the instructor is aging, he agilely dodges the many attacks from his opponent. At a critical moment, the enemy uses a spell to enlarge his weapon and bring it down on the instructor, thinking he has defeated him. However, the instructor releases an intense golden aura that completely destroys the giant weapon with superhuman strength. He calmly walks toward his opponent to finish the fight, but he is surprised by an explosive poison trap. Fortunately, he steps back just in time and avoids any damage. Seeing that his diversion mission is complete, Xu Ying escapes. However, in his rush, he bumps into a door and falls. Meanwhile, Wang Ling leaves the room to go collect his noodle prize. As Xu Ying gets back up, he is captured by the instructor. In the courtyard, Xu Feng, who has already neutralized all the guards in the area, comes face to face with the student's mascot dog. Thinking he can get rid of it easily, he tries to pet the animal. However, the dog brutally bites his fingers. Xu Feng manages to free himself by violently shaking the dog, but he realizes that his energy and vitality have been drained, making him look instantly older. The dog then transforms into its true form, a demonic Toad King. With all his power, he prepares a massive attack. Xu Feng tries to dodge, but weakened, he takes the attack head-on. The explosion that follows alerts Wang Ling, who is on the balcony receiving his instant noodle prize delivered by drone. When he sees Xu Feng, Wang Ling discovers the criminal's presence. Furious at being exposed by a simple boy, Xu Feng reveals his identity and uses his gigantic hammer to attack Wang Ling. An unprecedented energy is released, causing damage in distant places across the world. When the dust settles, Wang Ling appears unharmed. Not only did he survive, but he also destroyed Xu Feng's weapon. Even though it was classified as a divine artifact, the criminal collapses unconscious. The principal approaches Wang Ling to congratulate him on his immense power. But Wang Ling once again uses his power to erase memories, making everyone believe that the principal himself is the hero. As his friends arrive, they find Wang Ling in the arms of the supposed hero, pretending to have a few injuries to perfect his lie. 10 days after the events, Wang Ling is at home, receiving medical treatment through advanced technology. His mother enters his room and asks him how long he plans to keep pretending to be injured. That morning, his friends visit him, accompanied by a few spiritual mascots. Worried about Wang Ling's health, the group proposes injecting him with a huge syringe containing special blood, supposedly capable of restoring his energy and spiritual strength. Meanwhile, his friend Chen Chao brings him a bracelet sent by the academy instructor. This bracelet represents his next spiritual exam. It measures each student's power when worn. Frightened by the enormous syringe and his friend's psychopathic expressions, Wang Ling jumps out of bed, grabs the bracelet from his friend's hands, and says that he is feeling much better. He announces that he will return to the academy the next day. Chen Chao, wearing his bracelet, demonstrates how the test will work. The first test consists of concentrating energy in the palm of the hand to form a spiritual sphere. The bracelet then evaluates each student's potential. Chen Chao, with a score of 600 points, manages to create a sphere of force. He explains that this test is different from the first exam because students can shape their energy however they want, which is called cultivation energy. At another school, students are also taking the exam. Liang Zheng is called up to try his luck. He concentrates all his energy in his hand and develops spiritual power based on flames, reaching a score of 1,950 points. Despite his effort, his classmates mock him, considering his score far below average. Then it is Tang Jing's turn. When he channels his energy, an intense blue aura emerges from his hands, terrifying his classmates. His name climbs to the top of the national ranking with an impressive score of 4,379 points, surpassing even the legendary hero, Zhuo Yi. Back at Wang Ling's exam, his friend Guo Hao also tries his luck. Unfortunately, his tiny energy sphere reaches only 176 points. Devastated by the result, he even considers jumping out the window, but his friend Chen Chao stops him just in time. Wang Ling then asks Sun Rong, another friend, why she has not taken the test. She hesitates, fearing what might happen if she releases all her power. Her friends reassure her with a hilarious Dragon Ball reference, reminding her that she is rich and therefore has nothing to lose. Eventually, she agrees to take the test. A tremor shakes the entire house when Sun Rong releases her energy. The prodigy does not disappoint and reaches a phenomenal score of 4,015 points, placing her in second position in the national ranking. Her friends then turn toward Wang Ling, the only one in the group who has not yet taken the exam. Reluctantly, he puts on the bracelet and tries to minimize his power as much as possible. Despite his efforts, the energy he generates is colossal. Wang Ling then decides to send his energy sphere somewhere else. At the end of the exam, his classmates wonder where his sphere went. The answer is revealed. Wang Ling sent his energy directly into space. When Wang Ling's result is calculated, his energy is classified as undefined or unknown, placing him directly in first position in the national ranking. The rival school, seeing this score, wonders whether it could be a system bug. In the late afternoon, his friends say goodbye before leaving, but Wang Ling hears Guo Hao say that he would like to hack the system to change his poor score. That night, the two friends, dissatisfied with their results, meet in front of a computer to try to modify the programming and the test scores. Wang Ling changes his score to 175 points to leave first place and avoid attracting attention. Meanwhile, two students from the rival school try to understand whether the top score in the ranking was modified or whether it is real. Guo Hao tries to create a magical seal capable of generating the password needed to access the central score server, but he completely fails. When the password appears, it is encrypted with 8 asterisks, and no one can see the real characters. Wang Ling then decides to try his luck, and by entering the 8 asterisks, he manages to access the system. Guo Hao, in disbelief, continues the plan quickly to avoid being detected. However, they must act fast because staying too long inside the database could expose them. As Guo Hao rushes to modify the results, the two rival students are unable to access the information because the system is already under invasion. Guo Hao remembers Tang Jingzi, an arrogant student from his class, and decides to mock him by manipulating his name in the system. But by digging too deep into the data, Guo Hao triggers the security firewall, immediately activating an intrusion alarm. Panicked, both groups of students quickly disconnect from the database. Wang Ling's friend tells him that he failed to change his own score, but he made sure not to leave any trace of their intrusion. As a result, the scores remain unchanged. The next day, some students returning from a spiritual test notice that their class president's name has been changed. Everyone begins laughing at him. Meanwhile, a hacker student concludes by saying that during the spiritual sword tournament planned for the following month, they will have the chance to face these intriguing rivals. Tang Jings declares with determination that he will face them long before that. The story becomes more and more complex, and it is becoming difficult for Wang Ling to keep hiding his immense power from everyone around him. The instructors receive the test results and discover that Wang Ling came in first, even though he is considered an average student at the academy. Since he and Sun Rong are both in the top 10, their opponents in the Spirit Sword tournament will be students from another school, one known for being above average. The teachers discuss the fact that the two schools have faced each other 24 times in the past, but their academy has only won once. With the hero Juyi present, we see Wang Ling and his friends having fun while at the rival academy. The students train to use both physical strength and spiritual power to improve their sword skills in combat. During an interview, the president of the rival school says that, thanks to discipline and intense training, their 59th class will be able to win the competition. The reporter asks him what he thinks of the 60th class, and he says he is looking forward to facing Sun Rong, who is among the best. However, when he is asked about Wang Ling, he becomes worried and remains silent. Meanwhile, Wang Ling and his friends watch the interview carefully on the cafeteria television. While everyone is focused, Wang Ling remains completely relaxed about the situation. In the principal's office, the instructors discuss the team that will represent the school. Miss Pan, one of the teachers, opposes the idea of giving this responsibility to first-year students, but Zuo Yi reassures her, telling her that everything will be fine and that she should not worry. The chosen team is made up of Wang Ling and his 3 friends. However, there is a problem. A team must have 5 members. That is when the hero has a brilliant idea, or maybe not, adding the mascot dog as the 5th member. When Instructor Pan questions him about this absurd choice, Zhuo Yi uses a spell to transform the dog into a human. Unfortunately, the magic fails, and the result is catastrophic. A being with the head of a green dog. Horrified, he immediately cancels the failed fusion. He then explains that the dog's participation is not a problem because other spiritual animals have already taken part in previous tournaments. To register the Demon King's power, they place a testing bracelet on him since he had never taken the exams before. The principal then asks for his power to be recorded with a value of 5,000, placing him directly in 2nd place in the rankings. Zhuo Yi then tells the green dog that if they win the competition, he may even consider breaking the chains that keep him bound to the school. At the rival academy, the students mock President Teng, who has just been pushed down in the rankings, surpassed by a simple dog. At the end of the day, Zhuo Yi finalizes the tournament preparations. He gives the exam instructor the task of notifying the 5 selected members. That same evening, each member of the team receives a message on their phone confirming their selection to represent the academy. They have 3 days to prepare their spirit swords. Chen Chao, moved by the news, immediately tells his father, who, without hesitation, gives him the spirit sword Li Chao. The weapon Li Chao owns has been in his family since he was born. However, he admits that he still has not managed to infuse a spirit into his sword. The instructor encourages him, telling him that he has a lot of perseverance and that one day he will succeed. Guo has also chosen his own magical blade, a weapon made from the teeth of the rank 3 spirit beast, 3 tigers of the demonic night. He has owned it for 8 years, but he is in the same situation as his friend. He cannot infuse a spirit into his weapon. When Sun Rong is asked about her spirit sword, she decides to start a live stream to show it to her classmates and the instructor. She then takes out her family treasure, and everyone is amazed. Her sword already emits a spiritual aura. A bright blue light surrounds it, proof that she must have trained for a very long time to reach this level. The instructor then questions Wang Ling and the green dog about their spiritual weapons. Chen Chao intervenes mockingly, saying that the dog is only a mascot and cannot possibly have a spiritual weapon. Yet, against all expectations, the dog sends a photo of himself holding a sword. The examiner then explains to everyone that infusing a spirit into a sword requires a lot of patience. At first, the power is chaotic, but with training, the blue aura eventually stabilizes, taking either the form of a small beast or a human-like appearance with its own intelligence. It is only next semester that the students will learn more about spirit swords. In the meantime, he advises them to create an emotional bond with their weapons. The instructors then ask Wang Ling if he has a spirit sword. Calmly, after eating a snack, he simply answers yes, but refuses to show it. Meanwhile, at the rival academy, President Tang gives his instructor the list of fighters who will represent their school. The woman is surprised to see that there are only 4 names instead of 5. Tang smiles and says that the 5th member will be that person. The instructor shivers in fear. With this choice, victory would be guaranteed. At the same moment, in a dark alley, several students are violently beaten by a single individual. This mysterious fighter has been personally summoned by the instructor to join the Spirit Sword Tournament team. His aggressive behavior completely contradicts the school's standards, suggesting that he is a secret weapon who has been kept hidden until now. That same night, after hearing the explanations about the tournament, Wang Ling does not seem to want to participate. He is afraid of using his power during the competition and causing a planetary catastrophe. Despite his lack of enthusiasm, he still goes to his parents to ask them about his spirit sword. They are watching the news, where it is revealed that the city hero and his team have dismantled the plans of the masked organization, the same criminals who had been chasing him before. The hero's team has finally discovered and raided their secret hideout. Meanwhile, Wang Ling goes up to the attic of his house and finds an old box that he believes contains his spirit sword. When he opens it, a dazzling golden light bursts out. At the same moment, he receives a message from his instructor informing him that the next day he must go to the training camp. Suddenly, a spiritual being shaped like a small monk comes out of the box, but the protagonist immediately pushes it back inside. Despite this brief contact, a golden seal appears on the back of his neck. The next day, Chen Chao and Sun Rong discover Wang Ling's spirit sword. They find it very small and childish, but Sun Rong thinks it is cute. The green dog, however, immediately senses that this tiny object contains immense power. As for the Demon King, he sees a dense golden aura surrounding both the weapon and the boy's body. The principal then arrives at school with the 2 instructors. He announces that the first phase of the tournament will last 5 days, and that the students will stay together during that time. He notices that Wang Ling has not brought any suitcase or bag. In reality, Wang Ling does not want to participate. His plan is simple: pretend to faint and say that he has a stomachache so he can be disqualified. As everyone is ready to leave, the city hero receives urgent information from one of his squad members. He announces that he will not be able to accompany the students. Meanwhile, a few meters behind their bus, a suspicious vehicle follows discreetly. Inside is the leader of the criminal organization, who has a plan to eliminate Sun Rong once and for all. She mistakenly believes that it is the city hero who constantly ruins her plans. Her new strategy is to lure the heroes with an explosive clone. She has created a perfect copy of herself, with a countdown timer in its eyes. When the countdown reaches 0, a gigantic explosion will destroy everything nearby. She then uses her clone to deceive the police. Back on the bus, Wang Ling senses a strange presence approaching. However, he cannot concentrate because the spirit of his sword comes out without his consent. Once they arrive at the training camp, they are welcomed by the rival academy's team. Quickly, a tense exchange of looks takes place between the 2 instructors. In the past, they were friends and roommates, but now they are enemies. Instructor Shi mocks Miss Pan, saying that it is thanks to Sun Rong's parents' money that their academy is still standing, which makes her extremely angry. Despite this, Instructor Pan keeps her composure and asks Instructor Shi why she tried to recruit Sun Rong into her school. Suddenly, she freezes like a statue. Miss Pan also notices that within the rival team, there is a student who disobeyed orders during the final exam, mistreated animals, and was punished by the police. Meanwhile, Wang Ling focuses on his escape plan. He waits for the right moment to fake his illness. That is when the rival school's instructor launches an energy projectile. In an instant, the beam passes through his body. Seeing the perfect opportunity, Wang Ling theatrically collapses to the ground. Using her power, the instructor discovers that the boy's spiritual level is only 5 points. However, in the distance, a car appears. It is the vehicle of the criminal organization's leader. Lying on the ground, Wang Ling hears the spirit of his sword whisper that the seal limiting his power is about to break. At that exact moment, golden marks appear on the back of his neck, and colossal energy explodes toward the sky, creating immense pressure around him. Even the criminal wonders whether a deity is hiding among them. After all, they are supposed to be only students, still far from reaching their full potential. It is then revealed that the source of this uncontrollable power is none other than his sword. The resonance of the peach sword caused such a powerful reaction that it stimulated and weakened the false seal on Wang Ling's neck. Combined with the instructor's attack, this resonance revealed his true spiritual power. The sword spirit then explains that it had tried to warn Wang Ling about what was going to happen, but the boy had not given it enough time to speak on the bus. That is why everything happened so unexpectedly. The problem is now urgent. Wang Ling must immediately absorb a pill to reduce his spiritual energy. Otherwise, he risks entering a state of extreme instability. On her side, Instructor Xie cannot believe that this enormous surge of energy came from a simple student with a spiritual level of 5. She then asks the class president whether someone among them is responsible for this catastrophe. That is when a mysterious and threatening figure appears. The 5th member of the rival team is revealed, a violent and enigmatic student who was expelled from school for excessive violence. Meanwhile, the criminal group's plan ends in another failure. While Zhuo Yi thought he had captured the leader of the organization, he finds himself facing the trapped clone, ready to explode. But at the last moment, the immortal Zhuo Yi manages to defuse the bomb, preventing the devastating explosion. The criminal matriarch, however, does not seem concerned by this failure. She already has another plan in mind and decides to retreat for now. As for Wang Ling, his plan has gone perfectly. He successfully faked his stomach pain and, after all the chaos, was sent to rest and recover. Tang Jings takes advantage of the situation to boast in front of Sun Rong because he is the student council president. But the young girl has no desire to talk. He insists, and she punches him. However, Yishabei, the student secretary, steps in to stop her. Chen Chao rushes forward to help her, but 2 other students block his path. The secretary tries to reassure everyone, saying that Wang Ling will be safe, but in a fraction of a second, dark flames engulf the boy's body. Instructor Shi reacts immediately, wrapping his body in several bandages as protection and ordering that he be taken to the infirmary. On her side, Sun Rong, exasperated by the situation, directly attacks her opponent with her sword. But once again, Yishabei blocks the attack with the palm of her hand. Seeing this, the young prodigy draws her weapon, determined to injure Tang, but this time, her own instructor intervenes and restrains her. This is how the identity of the real attacker is revealed. It is the same mysterious student who had been standing on the school roof. Meanwhile, in the infirmary, the doctors remove the bandages and freeze. Wang Ling's body has disappeared. He has been teleported far away, and his phone has been slightly cracked. The problem is critical. If he uses his spiritual power again in this unstable state, he could trigger an explosion on a global scale. Panicking, he calls his father and explains the entire situation. Without wasting a second, his father grabs his sword and rushes off at full speed to find his son. He knows that the seal on Wang Ling is breaking and the danger is imminent. The rest of the group goes to the training area, where the tournament rules are explained to them. There are 5 zones, each associated with an element: water, metal, earth, fire, and wood. To earn points, they must drive their sword into a dedicated ritual site. The first team to reach 100 points wins. At that moment, Tang Jings addresses the rival group. If you only have 4 members, you will be immediately disqualified. But one of the opposing students immediately fires back. Your team also only has 4 members. Suddenly, a wave of energy crosses the arena. Before everyone's eyes, the 5th member of the rival team appears. His name is Bu Feng. To everyone's surprise, he betrays his own school, holds out a dark flower, and offers to help the enemy team in order to balance the forces. But the girl from the opposing team immediately rejects the offer. Despite Bu Feng's unbearable insistence, Chen Chao, annoyed by the scene, tries to punch him. However, a massive energy barrier violently pushes him back and sends him flying. Struggling to get back up, Chen Chao rushes at his opponent again. But this time, he is met with a rain of blows at inhuman speed. In the end, he is violently slammed into the ground. Despite the pain, Chen Chao refuses to give up. Remembering his father's teachings, he gets back up, his body surrounded by a scarlet-red aura, and charges again. But Bu Feng stops him with a single gesture. He tells him that he is going to tear off his arm with just one squeeze. Without warning, he firmly grabs Chen Chao's hand and crushes it before brutally throwing him against a door. But at the last moment, Wang Ling appears and catches Chen Chao in midair. Instructor Pan, watching the scene, is unsettled by this unknown energy. Her colleague then explains, "What you are seeing is negative energy. Its only function is to destroy and devour everything." Even Wang Ling's familiar spirit dog intervenes. Wang Ling has this negative energy inside him. If his seal ever breaks, then this world will never escape the catastrophe that follows. Wang Ling then uses healing magic on Chen Chao's arm, restoring it to normal. However, the seal is already at its breaking point. The infamous student Bu Feng tries to check Wang Ling's true level, so he rushes toward him without the slightest hesitation. He throws a direct punch, but Wang Ling completely ignores him and walks toward Sun Rong, handing her a rose. This gesture leaves everyone speechless at his calmness despite all the chaos. After that, Instructor Xia leads the students to their respective rest quarters. Meanwhile, a student watches the scene from the top of the gymnasium, following every event closely. Later that day, Bu Feng comes face to face with the mysterious spy from the school. They begin talking, but after a sharp remark from the young girl, Chen Chao, offended, calls her old. That was the fatal mistake. In a fraction of a second, he is struck by a lightning-fast blow that sends him flying far away. Trying to retaliate, he creates a massive sphere of negative energy, but the girl cancels it with a simple movement of 2 fingers. Chen Chao is completely paralyzed and collapses, defeated. Wang Ling, who happens to be passing by while eating his crispy noodles, witnesses the scene in astonishment. The fight was over before it had even begun. After this display of power, there is no doubt that the mysterious fighter has finally found an opponent worthy of her. Jiang Liuying, the leader of the criminal group, manages to capture Wang Ling and the fighting boy using a sacred rope capable of preventing anyone from freeing themselves with spiritual power. The criminal realizes that one of the boys present is a friend of Sun Rong and could be useful to her. Although she thinks he is just a weak boy, the seal holding back his negative energy is about to break, and if that happens, the earth will be destroyed in the blink of an eye. The spirit living inside Ling's sword wakes up and observes the situation. Seeing the atmosphere become darker, with lightning and violent winds, the creature immediately tries to calm its master by saying that today's crispy noodles are half price. The boy's devastating power then calms down, and the atmosphere returns to normal thanks to the spirit inside Wang Ling's weapon. Jiang Liuying takes a hair from the fighting boy and says she will use it to infiltrate the school, because her original plan was to transform into a student and kill Sun Rong. She leaves one of her henchmen to watch the students she has captured, ready to put her plan into action. Meanwhile, the instructors and students from both schools are in a room, taking part in a small meeting, when Bu Feng desperately opens the door and tells everyone that Ling has been kidnapped. We then see the boys tied near a pole, while the protagonist is tied to a wooden structure that looks very much like a cross. The fighting boy, the criminal who had long considered joining the enemy, says that if he is untied, he will tell the criminal group everything he knows. The henchman replies that only the leader can remove the spell. The boy, already impatient, says that the old man is only good for being a driver and has no power worthy of being part of the faction. At that moment, this same seemingly harmless old man releases a powerful beam near the young man's feet, piercing through all the floors of the school and reaching the ground. In seconds, the sword spirit says that this driver has colossal power, and even that is not his full strength. In the meeting room, the gang leader, who is disguised as Bu Feng, tells the entire story of Ling's kidnapping by the enemies. The hero present confirms that all of this is part of the criminal's plan. The student council president asks his assistant to locate Wang Ling's power, and the girl searches for an unknown power because Ling had a very low level. But a presence is detected in the old man, making things difficult. Zhuo Yi says that he will send the 7 Stars special team to the location to investigate. Instantly, Sun Rong is tied up by her own guards to protect her from kidnapping or any other threat, since she is the criminal organization's main target. The girl breaks free, raises her sword, and says she will not run away and will face any enemy to save her friend. The boys also stand up and draw their swords to help their friend. They join the guards to rescue Wang Ling. The organization orders the president and his group to accompany the other students to observe their opponent's skills and, if necessary, help them in any possible way. At that moment, we see the old man dancing on the roof of the building. The fighting boy tries to call out to the protagonist, but realizes that he is sleeping. After all, in this situation, he would not be able to participate in the tournament. The old criminal senses people approaching, and Bu Feng, in a desperate situation, starts shouting for help, but he is immediately knocked out by a kick so powerful from the henchman that he falls to the lower level. Sun Rong approaches the old building with her friends and guards. In the background, the members of the fighting boys team notice that he is acting strangely. From that moment on, they begin observing them from a distance. The old man launches a powerful beam at all the approaching bodyguards, a magic called the power of Goji, damaging everyone flying through the air and causing several explosions in the sky. Still at the beginning of the battle, we see that Wang Ling's father is still at the school entrance, prevented from entering by security. Back in the battle, the old man does a flip and casts a powerful spell that covers a large part of the sky. Using his golden disc treasure technique, he summons an army of golden knights that march toward the enemies. Sun Rong stands in front of the attack and blocks it completely by herself with her sword, before dispelling the enemy's summoning. The young girl approaches him with several blades floating in the air, ready to counter the attack. We then see a short flashback revealing that the leader of the criminal organization, Black Veil, is the old man's apprentice and always calls him master. It was by his side that she developed her spiritual powers, becoming extremely powerful. Back in the great battle, Sun Rong fights against other spirit swords created by her enemy, called dragon soldiers, which the user controls remotely. At the same time, the master creates a gravitational field around the young girl, preventing her from moving. A golden soldier approaches to strike her, but it is quickly defeated by Zhuo Yi, who arrives on the battlefield determined to defeat the old man. The two rush toward each other, and a shockwave erupts from their collision. But the hero manages to come out unharmed from the first blow. While the old man is severely weakened, his body no longer as young as it once was. Not missing the opportunity, a helicopter from the elite team fires at the old man, hitting him directly in the heart with a shot that pierces through his body. Already out of strength, he falls from a great height and crashes onto the roof of an abandoned building. The old man sacrifices himself to protect his leader, who was once his beloved apprentice. Sun Rong is taken to a safe place by her main bodyguard. She is unconscious after using too much of her power and fainting. Bu Feng runs toward the girl to check if she is all right. The guard, noticing the boy's strange agitation, realizes that everything is fine and that it was not the boy, but rather the matriarch of the criminal group, who had disguised herself as him. She carries a ball of negative energy in her hand to attack the young girl, but she is quickly stopped and asked to fight somewhere else. Returning to the final moments of the battle, Zhuo Yi and the green dog approach the old man, who no longer has the strength to get up. They tell him that he will be arrested for many crimes. The old man tries to say his final words, but fails, choosing instead to use the rest of his energy to blow himself up. Wang Ling is finally saved by the elite team, but he hides the real Bu Feng deep inside an old classroom, asking his spiritual creature to protect him all day and not let him escape. That way, the tournament will be cancelled, and he will not have to participate. The next day, Wang Ling realizes that his plan has failed miserably because the boy is present at the opening ceremony of the competition, when in reality it is still Jiang in disguise, intending to eliminate Sun Rong. The protagonist does not understand the situation but keeps an eye on the supposed student. At the opening ceremony, everyone is forced to hand in their phones, receiving instead a communication device to talk during the tournament. The competition representative explains that, thanks to their spirit swords, the participants will be able to score points at each altar. A student must remain at the designated location for at least 10 seconds to start scoring. He also explains that there is a flying height limit of 5 meters for aerial maneuvers and that the entire location will be surrounded by a protective barrier, so there is no need to worry. The students begin being transported to the arena through a huge crystal, and just as Wang Ling is about to leave for the location, he sees his father running and shouting in his direction. But then he is sent away with his companions. Zhu Yi approaches the man and tells him that it is an honor to meet his master's father. But he then learns the whole situation. If the boy's seal is not replaced, a massive global catastrophe could occur. The students arrive in the enormous arena. The president of the rival school asks his assistant to locate the other students. She reveals that Chen Chao is near the metal altar for a test, Sun Rong is near the water altar in the north, and the green dog is near the fire altar in the south with Bu Feng. The group from the 59th Academy is located in the center, near the earth altar. They therefore deduce that Wang Ling is probably at the wood altar in the east. Upon learning this, one of the participants runs toward the weak boy, thinking it will be easier to defeat him. Theoretically, despite detecting the positions of the others, Guo's location was still unknown. However, what they did not know was that Guo had already been listening to the explanation from the beginning. The boy was hiding behind an earth pillar, but his presence is quickly detected. His body is pierced by Tang Jing's sword. In the end, it was only an earth clone. The boy then runs away and hides in a tree. He was saved by one of the substitution seals he had bought before the tournament began. A voice message is broadcast, and everyone learns that the 59th Academy has already conquered the earth altar. Not wanting to fall behind, Chen Chao hurries to conquer an altar as quickly as possible. As he approaches the metal altar, the boy is greeted by a violent wind, accompanied by many yellow leaves that slightly injure him. The girl assigned to defeat him arrives shortly afterward and uses her web realm magic, a kind of invisible spider web. Thanks to this technique, she controls her enemy's movements, forcing him to injure himself. Wang Ling's father, along with the heroes Zhuo Yi and the other coordinators, watches the students' battles through several cameras scattered throughout the arena. The old master of the 60th Academy analyzes Chen Chao's situation and concludes that the boy has lost his fight against his opponent. On another monitor, we see the beginning of the fight between Bu Feng and the green dog for the fire altar. The fake Bu Feng avoids the animal's attacks and prepares an electric attack using his negative energy, but he realizes that the animal has swallowed his energy. The green dog then hides, having absorbed a large amount of power. The boy heads toward his objective, the wood altar. Wang Ling wakes up with a dog talking to him through his phone, explaining its plan to break the barrier using the spiritual energy stolen from the other participants. When he gets up, he finds himself facing Liang Fei, who is preparing to attack him, but he is interrupted by Guo, who uses his high-energy attack. The two then begin fighting at high speed with their swords. In the north, Sun Rong rushes to capture the water altar, but she is surprised by an attack from Tang Jing's. The girl manages to dodge and immediately summons her sword spirit. Her opponent arrives with his own summon. Angered, the prodigy launches her attack against her enemy, transforming her weapon into a huge aquatic monster. The school president orders his own creature to attack as well, launching a powerful slash with its katana against the sea serpent and destroying it. After a huge collision, another voice message is broadcast, announcing that Bu Feng has conquered the fire altar and that the girl fighting Chen Chao has also scored points at the metal altar. As a result, the 59th Academy is in the lead with 4 points. Sun Rong takes a fighting stance, grabs her sword, and uses her technique, water dance, attacking with several blades of water. But the boy activates his special ability, snow breath, turning the entire aquatic environment into ice. The girl advances toward her opponent, exchanging attacks with Tang Jing's spirit creature. The prodigy realizes that she is at a disadvantage in terms of strength, and to make matters worse, she is surprised by a sneak attack from Bu Feng. who strikes her arm with a sphere of negative energy. At that moment, trapped and with no way out, everyone on the battlefield is surprised by a violent gust of wind that shatters a large part of the ice field. The prodigy takes advantage of the situation and escapes by swimming away from the battlefield. Tang Jingzi, who does not know who Bu Feng really is, offers him help during the tournament in exchange for a reward. The president then asks the strong boy to go after the girl while he takes the altar for the 59th Academy. The countdown begins to capture the final altar, and just as they are about to receive a speed bonus, the wood arena is taken over by the 60th Academy. Sun Rong hears Guo say through her phone that Wang Ling has fused with the green dog, thereby taking the base. During the battle for the wood altar, the protagonist had been sitting on the ground, watching his friend fight Liang Fei, when he sensed the presence of the trotting dog in the surrounding bushes. Wang Ling could no longer bear containing all that power, and a feeling he had never experienced before began to emerge. At that moment, his barrier broke, releasing a dense amount of negative energy. The spirit dog took advantage of this and ran toward the boy, biting his neck to devour all that energy. But this was a trick by Wang Ling to lure the dog with his energy so he could perform his fusion technique. With their bodies connected, Wang Ling could use a little more of his strength, with the trotting dog serving as a limiter. Liang Fei took advantage of the situation and tried to attack the boy, but when he touched Wang Ling's finger, his weapon was destroyed into several pieces. Then, with a simple touch of his hand on Liang Fei's shoulder, he was sent flying far away, as if he had been hit by a truck moving at high speed. After the fusion, Wang Ling used the green dog like a hood, covering his entire head. The boy then headed toward the fire altar and captured it immediately with incredible speed. Then he went to the metal altar. The students from the 59th group did not understand the situation and discovered that the power of this supposedly weak boy was astonishing. Tang Jingzi ordered Bu Feng to protect the earth altar located at the center of the arena and told Liang Jing to recover the fire altar as quickly as possible. The president then reflected, thinking that although Wang Ling was extremely powerful at that moment, he would be at a disadvantage with one member missing, since the dog was now part of him. He therefore developed a rotation strategy for the altars, where the score would always remain 4-1, concluding that this was the only chance for the 60th Academy to score points. Yisha Bei was sent to the wood altar to meet the boy, while the group constantly monitored the position of Wang Ling's superfusion. The incredible fusion reached the metal altar, where Chen Chao's motionless body was seen. The boy explained everything to his friend, and they scored another altar for their team, taking the lead for the first time. However, it was suddenly announced that Wang Ling's group only possessed one altar, the others having been taken by the opposing team. Wang Ling then understood his opponent's strategy and realized that his only solution was to run as fast as possible to conquer all the altars, but he would have to wait 10 seconds with his sword on each one. The young boy released a burst of energy to put his plan into action, but he was surprised when Sun Rong spoke through his earpiece. The group then discussed how to capture the points in order to keep their advantage. They immediately understood that the key to this was Chen Chao. They put their plan into action, and the prodigy headed toward the fire altar, which was protected by Liang Zheng. When she arrived, Guo destroyed his opponent with several insults and provocations, while Sun Rong approached to recover the altar. At the same time, a voice message was sent to the students, announcing that the water altar had been captured by the 60th Academy. We then see Bu Feng at the earth altar, remembering Tang's words, who had promised to help him with whatever he needed if he won the tournament. In a short flashback, we follow the rivalry between the Tang and Sun families. Since childhood, they have desperately tried to surpass one another. Back then, they competed with knowledge, and today, they fight with their spiritual powers. Back in the present, during the capture of the fire altar, the young prodigy is hurt by Guo's offensive words, even though his attack had been directed at Liang Zheng. But Liang Zheng dodged the blow by tripping over a stone. Tang Jing's then arrives on the battlefield, scolds his teammate, and asks him to stop the young girl from capturing the altar. The boy quickly gets back up and runs toward the scoring zone to protect it. Sun Rong also moves toward the capture point. To help her, Guo raises a stone wall to hinder his opponent, but it is quickly destroyed. The young prodigy counterattacks by summoning several spirit swords at the same time to attack and defend. Watching this fight, an experienced instructor tells her friend Pan that, in order to capture the altar, her student must plant her sword with both hands while smiling, all while distracting the opponent with copies of her weapon. The young prodigy rushes toward the altar, but when she tries to activate it, her sword is shattered into several pieces by Tang Jing's spirit creature. She steps back, retrieves the copies of her weapon, and reforms it into its main form. Guo approaches her to apologize, but now they both have to face their enemies. Tang reveals his plan: control at least 4 of the 5 altars to secure victory for his team. While Liang Zheng and Tang Jingze face Sun Rong and Guo at the fire altar, Bu Feng will face Chen Chao at the iron altar, and Yisha Bei will monitor all of Wang Ling's suspicious movements at the water altar. Meanwhile, at the iron altar, the fighting boy launches several attacks using his negative energy, but his opponent dodges them easily. Lu Ying, who is pretending to be Bu Feng, understands that her opponent's abilities are based only on punches and kicks. She knows she cannot use her own techniques because she is being watched by cameras. At that moment, the fighting boy notices that the dead leaves falling from the trees are made of an extremely sharp metal, capable of causing serious injuries even to a human. He then gets the idea to absorb all these blades into his negative energy spheres and release them as a massive whirlwind directed at his opponent. Chen Chao then remembers his childhood and his training with his father. He uses his spirit sword to defend himself against this powerful attack. Despite his impressive defense, he is hit by many leaves and ends up injured in the arms. Seeing this, Bu Feng increases the density of his power, impressed by his opponent's ability to withstand such force. Meanwhile, at the fire altar, Sun Rong tells her comrade to stay back, saying that she will fight alone. Although hesitant, he obeys and keeps his distance to watch the battle. Sun Rong charges fiercely toward Tang Jing's, but Tang's spirit creature blocks her attack. The 2 swords clash violently, creating a powerful shockwave that spreads through the surrounding area. Guo tries to release the spirit sealed inside his weapon. His parents had told him that the power within that blade could destroy heaven and earth. However, summoning this spirit is extremely difficult, and he will only have one chance to succeed. Meanwhile, at the water altar, Wang Ling is constantly watched by Yisha Bei, yet the boy remains motionless, showing no intention of acting for the moment. At the iron altar, Chen Chao is kneeling, leaning on his sword after suffering a devastating attack. Exhausted, he desperately grabs Bu Feng's arm, trying to stop him from capturing the altar. This makes Bu Feng angry, and he tries to eliminate him using negative energy. Seeing how dangerous the situation is, Wang Ling's father recommends that the teacher stop the fight, but the teacher says there is no danger. On Sun Rong's side, she is overwhelmed by the situation. Meanwhile, Chen Chao tries everything he can to stop Bu Feng, but he is quickly trampled by the fighting boy, who ends his assault with a kick so powerful that it sends Chen Chao flying far away. At that moment, Yisha Bei warns Tang Jingzi that 2 colossal energies are rapidly increasing at the fire altar and the iron altar. Chen Chao then gets back up, both of his arms surrounded by a golden spiritual aura he has possessed since childhood. Without hesitation, he charges at the fighting boy to stop him from scoring points. Meanwhile, at the fire altar, Guo's sword spirit is finally released. A huge fire phoenix appears behind him, ready to attack. But to summon this creature, a specific condition must be met. A sacrifice is required. Sun Rong, understanding this, offers her sword as tribute so that her friend can complete the summoning. At that moment, a gigantic explosion shakes the fire altar. Thanks to her comrade's help, the young prodigy finally manages to capture the altar. In the middle of these outbursts of energy, Wang Ling emerges from the water altar and rushes to quickly score at the wood altar. Back at the iron altar, Chen Chao manages to push Bu Feng back and immediately captures the zone with his immense power. Seeing all of this, the fighting boy feels an uncontrollable rage rising inside him. This anger releases such overwhelming power that his disguise shatters, revealing his true appearance to everyone. Suddenly, the voice announces that the 60th Academy has taken control of the fire altar, which surprises the teachers. Yisha Bei is completely confused by the situation because the fire altar is Tang Jingzi's responsibility. However, the young girl had been observing everything from the beginning from the water altar. Seeing the situation, the young girl tries to go help the others, but suddenly, they lose another altar. At that moment, it is revealed that the plan was created by Sun Rong. To achieve victory, she asks the boy to cancel the fusion with the green dog and go to the wood altar. That way, the girl spying on him could not follow him because his spiritual power was very low, leaving only the trotting toad at the water altar in its semi-human form. In this way, he had been deceiving his opponent the entire time. The Demon King also knew where she was hiding thanks to the girl's ability to manipulate web-like energy. The young girl was at a complete disadvantage because her power only affected humans. Guo, who was beside Sun Rong, tells his companion to split up so they can help capture the other altars. He then heads toward the metal altar to find out what happened to his friend Chen Chao and asks Sun Rong to join Wang Ling at the earth altar. At that moment, the protagonist's father watches his son through the cameras. Even though he is close to a likely victory, he is anxious because, after everything that has happened during the tournament, his son could lose control of his emotions and release his true power. We then follow Wang Ling's sad journey since childhood. Because of the seal on his body that contained his devastating energy, he always had to control his emotions to avoid causing accidents. Throughout his life, he deprived himself of feeling any kind of emotion, whether joy, sadness, the feeling of winning, or the feeling of losing. But for the first time in his life, he feels the great emotion of having friends by his side. He then arrives at the earth altar and immediately plants his sword to capture the location. But with this feeling of victory, the young man tries to control the emotion rising inside him. Sun Rong approaches him, takes his hands, and together they manage to conquer the final altar. The trotting toad, after knocking out Yisha Bei, senses Wang Ling's mana and thinks Wang Ling is unable to contain his emotions, so it quickly runs toward him to help. Guo arrives at the metal altar and discovers Chen Chao seriously injured and unconscious, tied to a tree with red ribbons. He tries to free his companion but cannot, and he calls for help from everyone watching through the cameras. The instructors, shocked by the scene, do not know what to do. One of them explains that a protective seal prevents the students from being injured and that it would take at least a level 3 golden pill to destroy it. At the same time, while Wang Ling is celebrating with Sun Rong, the two students are attacked by Jiang Luying, who brutally strikes the young girl in the back, extracting her spirit from her body before destroying it. This is how Sun Rong is brutally killed. Wang Ling, overwhelmed by rage, releases all his power without caring about anything, even breaking his seal. His eyes turn scarlet, and without thinking, he rushes toward the leader of the criminal group to defeat her at all costs. The Demon King arrives and uses his power to freeze time, preventing the explosion from becoming fatal for everyone there. The trotting toad realizes that his spell will not be able to stop the boy's uncontrollable hatred. Wang Ling then manages to break the time stasis and, gathering all his strength, delivers a devastating punch to Jiang. But the criminal counterattacks, releasing immense power against the boy. She follows up with punches and kicks at lightning speed, but it is not enough to stop him. Wang Ling retaliates with an overwhelmingly powerful punch that sends his opponent flying far away. He then launches a series of physical and magical attacks against her. Just as he concentrates all his energy to deliver the final blow, he remembers Sun Rong. Immediately, every trace of hatred and rage disappears from his face, and he heads toward the young girl in the hope of healing her. Jiang is both confused and angry, ordering him to finish her off once and for all. Wang Ling tries to use his healing power on his friend, but the trotting toad tells him it is useless because the criminal directly destroyed the young girl's soul. Sun Rong was not completely dead yet because time had been stopped. The green dog explains that as soon as the spell is lifted, the young girl will die completely. In tears, Wang Ling asks if there is no way to save her by using all his energy to recover her spirit. The Demon King replies that no body could withstand such a quantity of spiritual energy. He then suggests a solution: freeze time forever so that she never completely dies. But Wang Ling rejects this idea. Consumed by vengeance, the fighter decides that this world must be reset. The boy then goes to a dimensional rift and, with a simple movement of his hand, destroys the earth before immediately rebuilding it. Then, using his spirit sword, he opens a portal that allows him to return to Earth, hoping he has managed to bring his friend back to life. When he approaches the young girl, he realizes that his plan has failed. Determined, he tries again to reset the world with a devastating punch, but the trotting toad tells him it would be useless. Beside his spirit sword, The protagonist questions the Demon King about his power. The latter reveals that he can convert spiritual energy into the speed of light, which allows him to stop the flow of time from that perspective. Wang Ling then asks if, by exceeding that speed, it would be possible to travel back in time. The green dog confirms that, theoretically, it could work, but a colossal amount of energy would be required. The boy straightens up and raises his hand, declaring that he will use all his energy to carry out this plan. Immediately, a gigantic mass of energy begins to take shape in space. The Demon King watches the scene with concern, because this attempt could not only cause irreversible damage to the young man, but also dangerously disrupt the flow of time. However, the boy does not care about any consequence. His only goal is to bring his friend back to life. Faced with his determination, the trotting toad decides to help him. They fuse once again to perform the time travel technique. After an intense flash of light, we find Wang Ling on his first day of high school. Upon arriving, he is surprised by two older students who try to intimidate him and extort money from him. But this time, Chen Chao and Guo intervene and teach the bullies a good lesson. Confused, the boy gives them a bill as thanks, without really understanding why he is doing it. Later, in magic class, the students learn a control technique called false impression. At that moment, the protagonist mistakes a classmate for his lost friend. On the way home after class, Wang Ling sees a limousine. He immediately runs toward it, hoping to find someone important inside. But when he gets closer, he discovers that the passengers are none other than Tang Jingzi and his friend Yi Bei. It is then revealed that this peaceful world, in which the protagonist now lives, was created through the fusion of his powers and those of the trotting toad. However, this new reality is gradually absorbing the energy of the old world, threatening to destroy it completely. At the same time, we are taken to the underworld realm, where the great king of hell judges the souls of the dead. His servants bring him Sun Rong's spirit. While they try to resolve the problem, the young girl suddenly awakens in the realm of the dead. The entities present try to calm her down, telling her that she is only hallucinating. Meanwhile, in the new world, Wang Ling lives a completely normal life. No battles, no terrifying criminals, no clashes between schools, and even the legendary hero Zhou Yi is now only a simple employee at an amusement park. That day, Wang Ling and his friends go to a mystical statue that is supposed to reveal their future. But when Wang Ling places his hand inside the monument's mouth, nothing happens. Suddenly, the statue begins to crack and, in an instant, shatters before their eyes. Back at the palace of the underworld, the great king discovers that Sun Rong is a descendant of his master. Panicked and frightened, he immediately sends the young girl's soul back into her body. She then wakes up beside Wang Ling's sword spirit, who is overwhelmed with emotion upon seeing her come back to life. In the new reality, the protagonist does not remember his friend, but he feels as if he has already been in these places with someone special a very long time ago. This feeling leaves a huge emptiness inside him. In the old reality, now engulfed in chaos and destruction, the spiritual entity tells Sun Rong everything that happened. She then realizes that Wang Ling sacrificed so much effort only to bring her back. She asks how to restore the original world. The spirit explains that Wang Ling has entered a state of absolute trance, becoming the creator god of a new reality. The only way to fix things is to wake him up and destroy this artificial world. The protective spirit then returns to its sword form, and Sun Rong wields it before rushing toward the energy core where Wang Ling is located. She dodges powerful lightning bolts that ravage the area and, at the decisive moment, manages to thrust the sword into her friend's spiritual essence, pulling him out of the illusion. Immediately, we are thrown back to the moment when Chen Chao defeats Jiang Luiying at the metal altar. But just as she is about to reveal her true identity, Wang Ling crushes her from a distance with a simple movement of his palm, driving her into the ground. The metal altar is finally conquered, and Wang Ling captures the earth altar, giving his entire team a brilliant victory. After the tournament, one final flashback takes us back to the moment when Sun Rong sliced through the new reality, creating a time ring. The trotting toad explains that by using this ring, they can return to the past, but in exchange, Sun Rong will lose all her memories of these events. Despite this, she declares that neither time nor space will be able to alter her feelings, and that her love for Wang Ling will always bring her back to his side. And so, the two return to the past. After the tournament victory, Ling's father finally manages to find him and place a new seal on him. The trotting toad explains that as soon as the seal is activated, Wang Ling will once again suppress all his emotions, and his relationship with Sun Rong will become ordinary and meaningless again.